Madam Chair, Councilmember.
Thank you so very much. I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote public hearing as follows. Due to the current public health emergency, city council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings of council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to hearings and can be found on council's website at phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. Rachel, will you please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate that you are present when your name is called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on the screen when you speak.
Vice Chair Brian O'Neill.
Present. Good afternoon.
Councilmember Alan Dom.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and colleagues. Present.
Councilmember Derek Green. Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Present.
Councilmember Maria Quinones Sanchez.
Present.
And I believe that is all who is in attendance. Councilmember Derek Green, are you there? Okay, we still have a quorum, so we should be fine.
Oh. Okay, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. This is the public hearing of the Committee on Labor and Civil Service on Bill numbers 210443 and 210500. Rachel, will you please read the titles of the bills?
210443, an ordinance amending Chapter 9 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by adding a new chapter related to hiring entities providing covered individuals with a workforce and career pathways information sheet, all under certain terms and conditions. 210500, an ordinance amending Section 13-101 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Fixing and Regulating Rates and Charges to extend the prevailing wage provisions of the code that apply in connection with the receipt of charity water rates and make technical changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
Before we begin to hear testimony from the witnesses we have for today, everyone who has been invited to the meeting to testify should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded. Because the hearing is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Additionally, prior to recognizing members for their questions or comments that they have for witnesses, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this purpose. Now, before I ask Rachel to call the first panel for bill number 210500, I would like to make just some very brief comments. I want to say to Mayor Kinney and the Kinney administration, particularly Deputy Mayor Laser. I think Kevin Fuller from SEI 32BJ is here to testify on this bill. I know we thought that we addressed this issue relative to paying of prevailing wage provisions of the code in connection with those institutions that receive our charity water rates. And I thought we did this when I thought we did this when we passed the legislation, that we worked very closely with the administration along with SEIU 32BJ, but institutions always seem to find a way around legislative initiatives that we are proffering. And to those who have been acting accordingly, I thank you so very much for that. And we will hear in more detail about the specifics of this issue during testimony. With that being said, Rachel, will you please call the first panel we have to testify this afternoon on bill number 210500?
Madam Chair, I just want to let the committee know that I am present.
Oh, thank you. Let the record reflect that Labor and Civil Service Committee member, Councilmember Green, is present. Thank you so very much, Councilmember Green.
Thank you.
The first panel is Rich Laser and Kevin Fuller.
Thank you. Mr. Laser, can you please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Yep. Good afternoon, Chair Parker and members of the committee. My name is Rich Laser. I'm Deputy Mayor for Labor, and I appear before you to testify in support of Bill number 210500. I do apologize. I'm having technical issues with my camera, so I apologize for my camera being off. Bill number 210500 extends the prevailing wage provisions that apply in connection with the receipt of the charity water rates. This bill allows a court of competent jurisdiction, in addition to the Labor Standards Unit, to make a determination and order an alleged violation of the prevailing wage laws. Lastly, this bill expands the remedies that shall be ordered for such violations. The administration supports this bill, and the Department of Labor is prepared to enforce it. I'd like to thank the chair for introducing this bill, and I look forward to answering any questions that any members have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Laser, Deputy Mayor Laser, for your testimony. Mr. Fuller, are you connected?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Parker and the rest of the committee. My name is Kevin Fuller with SEIU 32BJ, and I am here to speak on Bill number 210500. This bill, along with its amendments, would ensure that the improvements Council is seeking to enact with respect to the prevailing wage ordinance apply equally to those who take city money in the form of a water rate discount, also known as a charity water rate. This bill is actually a follow-up piece of legislation to Bill number 190911, which was introduced by Councilwoman Parker in 2019, and which, like Bill number 210500, was supported by the administration. SEIU 32BJ security officers who work for Allied Universal, Temple University, and Temple Hospital in Philadelphia are in support of this legislation. During the pandemic, these Black security officers have been on the front lines. Every day, these 32BJ members watch out for the students, patients, staff, faculty, and property of Temple. They risk their health, families' health, and sometimes lives. 8 years ago, SEIU 32BJ organized for security officers because they were tired of being treated unfairly. Back then, they made little more than minimum wage, and most had no health insurance. Since joining the union, wages have gone up on average $5 per hour, and they now have good union health insurance. In 2019, SEIU 32BJ filed a complaint with the city demanding that the city enforce the prevailing wage for security officers, something that has been mandated by the city ordinance since 2016. Temple has received millions of dollars in subsidies from the city of Philadelphia. Penn, Drexel, and CCP have taken the water rate discount, and they eventually agreed to honor the prevailing wage. However, Temple has decided not to honor prevailing wage, despite saving themselves millions of dollars over the last several years via the water rate discount. How can a publicly funded university in a Black neighborhood treat Black workers who keep their campuses safe this way? SEIU 32BJ, along with security officers who work for Allied Universal at Temple University and Temple Hospital, support this legislation, which will ensure that prevailing wage ordinance improvements apply equally to institutions who take the water rate discount at a city subsidy. And thank you.
Thank you so very much for your testimony. Quick question for you, Kevin. Can you say the names of those institutions? I only got two that you said, were complying with the legislation as it relates to paying prevailing wage if they get the charity water rate. Is that CCP and Penn? But you said another one.
Oh, Drexel as well.
Oh, it was Drexel. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I had the correct names. Chair is going to recognize Councilmember Maria Quinones Sanchez, who has worked very hard on this issue for years. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to go back to where you started around. We've made so much progress over the last decade, and the fact that we got to keep coming back and tying up these loose ends is quite frustrating. So I had a question for Deputy Mayor Rich Laser. Now that his office is more formalized and we're moving forward around the enforcement to some of these issues, can you give us an update on the status of the committee that provides exemptions, and if there's any update around how many institutions are still coming in and asking for exemptions to this policy?
Yep. So we have not had any exemptions in the last few years. We did work with some institutions. So we had some institutions that chose not to take the discount anymore because they weren't going to be able to move up, or they chose not to move up to the rate that we set. So those rates were removed from those institutions. Some, as Mr. Fuller talked about, have moved their wages to the proper wage that we have set. And then the one that we had brought up with Temple, we had issued a violation on that, and the city has removed the water discount from Temple. But we have not had any. We've not had any waivers issued, Councilwoman.
In addition to this particular benefit, and I can't recall, what is the committee where folks could come in and ask for an exemption, not only from this provision but others? Does that committee still exist?
Yeah. So the 21st Century Waiver Committee, which businesses would come to that do business with the city, would ask for waivers to the 21st Century Wage Law. That will be going up to 1425 July 1. But those have really dropped to almost no waivers have really. And any that do come are usually a nonprofit organization. And we've always, the committee has many different members on it through business and labor. And we've been very successful at pushing wages up. We may not hit what the wage is, but we always have an increase in wages for the workforce. So those waivers, Councilmember, have dropped significantly. We may get one or two a year at this point. We used to get 5+ at certain hearings, so they've dropped.
Yeah, well. That's good to know. And if there's anything that gets flagged in that process that council should be aware of, please submit it to the chair of this committee. We should be aware of it. But I appreciate the hard work around this, and unfortunately we got to get to this particular place. You would think at this moment in time people would want to comply, given all of the conversations that's going on. But I appreciate the work of this committee and the chair to close up any loose ends so that we can do the enforcement, because ultimately the enforcement is really what's going to get us to compliance. And if folks think that we're not doing that, then we'll have these problems. So I appreciate everyone's effort. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Sanchez. And Councilmember Sanchez, I just wanted to give you a here, because I don't care, what worker protection laws that we have passed here in this body. If it was your work with the domestic workers legislation, or any of the other, our just cause legislation, any of the other worker protection initiatives that we've passed, enforcement is the key to all of their success. So we want to say on the record a special thank you to you two for your work. I don't see any other requests for questions for this panel. With that being said, is there anyone else here to testify on this bill whose name has not been called yet? Hearing none, I want to thank you, Mr. Fuller, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Laser, for your participation. We're now going to move on to Bill number 210443. Before Rachel calls the first panel, would Council Member Gilmore Richardson like to make any opening comments?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, colleagues. For far too long, Philadelphians have dealt with generational poverty, and many of our constituents feel unable to move out of low-wage, low-skill positions without expensive advanced degrees. The data on our city's labor market over the last 40 years confirms this. Significant growth in high-skill, high-wage occupations and low-wage, low-skill occupations with job losses in middle-skill occupations. In order to create more family-sustaining and supporting career opportunities for city residents, we need to invest in building Philadelphia's talent pipeline. This is an issue you've all heard me speak about before. My first bill in council, while still very traumatic, was to make it easier for career and technical education graduates to get jobs with the city of Philadelphia. And with the recent legislation that you introduced, Madam Majority Leader, I know that we will move in this direction. It is my hope to pass the legislation within a year regarding the career and technical education graduates. I've also organized hearings on our labor market indicators post-COVID-19, the school district's preparedness to help our young people get jobs in growing industries such as life sciences, clean energy, and advanced manufacturing. While the overall picture of our labor economy may show a decline in middle-skill jobs, when you dig deeper into the high-demand occupations, there are many that only require post-secondary training or associate degrees, such as web developers, life sciences technicians, paralegals, nursing assistants, automotive technicians, HVAC technicians, early childhood educators, and more. Positions like these offer higher wages and put workers on a path to more advanced opportunities, and many employers are struggling to hire for these positions, creating significant opportunity for us here in the city of Philadelphia. This need is even more crucial as we work to build a new economy post-COVID-19, one that is equitable, climate resilient, and prepared for future economic downturns. One important tool to achieving these goals is through an effective communication strategy that reaches people when they are most in need. Not everyone gets information via social media or is aware of the vast network of incredible organizations and educational institutions that provide workforce development and skills training. By providing resources directly to workers at the moment of separation and making it easily available to folks in the gig economy, we can reach people where they are and help them learn about these opportunities without requiring them to spend significant time researching the labor market. The workforce sheet will be created and maintained by the Department of Labor, making it easy for businesses to provide. This will also better connect the Department of Labor and the Workforce Development Unit, which will break down silos in city government and allow us to better serve workers and business owners. I want to thank everyone who has reached out and all of those we have had robust conversations with. We will be providing amendments today after meeting with the Department of Labor, and I want to thank our Deputy Mayor Rich Laser and his team for all of their hard work. We're also incorporating amendments, technical amendments from the law department. Additionally, we are offering an amendment that makes it clear that electronic distribution of the sheet, once formulated by labor, is acceptable. Lastly, I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Dom, for the additional suggestion around the dissemination of the sheet from our perspective in city government. And I'm happy to report the Department of Labor is willing to disseminate the sheet. And I also want to thank all of those here today who are testifying on this legislation. I thank you for being here. I thank you for your hard work and for your continued partnership. And I want to especially thank you, Madam Chair, Councilmember Parker, for working with me in my office to get this hearing scheduled today. I know how very busy we are. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. And just as a matter of personal privilege, in one of my boxes, I see Patrick Clancy. Hey, Pat Clancy. Vice Chair Brian O'Neill, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson will take over from me as I leave to attend another meeting. But I was not going to leave this hearing without thanking you for your laser focus on career, technical education, workforce development. I mean, everything that it takes to build the pipeline and create access to opportunity for Philadelphians to quite frankly do what I call be put on a path to self-sufficiency. And so we want to thank you so very much for all of your leadership in that area. With that being said, Rachel, will you please call the first panel we have to testify this afternoon on bill number 210443?
Yes, the first panel is Rich Laser, Zakia Ali, Eloise Jettison, and Michael Zacagny.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Laser, please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Parker, members of the committee. Again, my name is Rich Laser. I'm Deputy Mayor for Labor for the city. I appear before you today to testify regarding Bill number 210443. This bill will create a new chapter of the Philadelphia Code, which will require that covered individuals, as provided, with the Workforce and Career Pathways Information Sheet, either when they begin work, at the time of separation from employment, or within 30 days from separation of employment, depending on the industry in question and depending on the facts specific to each individual person's separation from employment. The administration supports this bill, and believes this bill will be helpful in ensuring that workers in Philadelphia know how to access jobless benefits and other career and technical skills training if they become unemployed. We are supportive, and I would like to thank Councilperson Gilmore Richardson and her staff for working with us and taking time to engage during the drafting process. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Zakia Ali.
Good afternoon, Council and Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson, as well as Chair Parker, if she's still on. I'm here representing the Commerce Department and the Office of Workforce Development. We do not have any specific testimony to add other than we are supportive of the bill and certainly want Philadelphia residents and especially workers to have all of the information they need to make informed career decisions and life choices so that they are able to connect to employment that allows them to be self-sufficient in our society. So we're here in support, and let us know if you have any questions.
And do Eloise Jettison and Michael Zacagny have any additional testimony?
I don't have any prepared testimony. It's Michael Zacagny, Director of Human Resources, but we are also supportive. We do not see, as being an employer in the city, this being a tremendous issue for us to deal with. We think it's a good idea to provide as much information. We do provide some of this information currently to employees as they separate, especially for jobless benefits and continuation of healthcare coverage. We'll have to look at some other employees, such as temporary workers, but we do not feel that this will be a burden on the city of Philadelphia, at least to prepare. There will be some challenges here and there, but we expect to be able to deal with those challenges. And again, we want to thank you because, again, as Zakia said, we're supportive of this. We're supportive of making sure that we can do everything we can, especially for employees who leave for various reasons, that they have as much information as possible as they're moving into the job market. Thank you.
This is Brian O'Neill. Is our majority leader still on? I know she was leaving.
No, I don't believe she is.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none. Rachel, will you please
Mr.
call
Chair.
this? Yes, I'm sorry.
Apologies. I'm sorry. I was not able to get the information in the chat fast enough. But I just wanted to, for the record, thank our Deputy Mayor, Rich Laser, and his entire team. I wanted to, if possible, Deputy Mayor Laser, if you could put on the record around the regulation process and, the information that will be on the sheet and how it will be disseminated for the record.
Yep, I appreciate that, Councilmember. Yeah, we'll work with your office and other members to go through how to best disseminate this information. I know we talked prior to the hearing about maybe using the business privilege license list to get it out to all employers. That this information, we could do it through various stakeholders that we work through. We will do it through our own office, as Mike Zacagny had said. And I think we'll work. I mean, Philadelphia Works. I know Pat Clancy's on here, and he's one of our best assets in government. So I will work with Philadelphia Works because they do a lot of this. So we will work with them as well to put the most pertinent information, because information is power. And I think the more information that we provide to workers when they leave their current employment is important, so that they can either continue their training in a different skill or look for other opportunities out there and make sure that they're getting the benefits that they need to continue to be successful. So I think it'll be a team effort with yourself and other members, but we can do the things that we spoke about and get this information out to the workforce.
Excellent. And then also I had a question for Mr. Sakagny.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Yes, so I just wanted to, for the record, notate that the city will also be complying with the auspices of this legislation.
Yes, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you so much to Zakia Ali, our resident workforce development expert. We truly appreciate all the work that you do with us on a daily basis. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Rachel, will you please call the second panel? We have to testify this afternoon on bill number 210443.
Yes, the second panel is Patrick Clancy, Latoya Edmonds, and Shona Murphy, who is reading the testimony of Teresa Collins. Patrick Clancy, if you're ready, you can.
Yes, great. Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, Council Chairperson, and also thank you again to Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for the invitation to speak today. I am Patrick Clancy, President and CEO of Philadelphia Works. We are the city's workforce development board in charge of helping individuals transition into employment when they're either separated from work, coming back from incarceration, on public assistance, or just making transitions in general. And as the head of the Workforce Board, we find this amendment a great opportunity to educate both job seekers and businesses about all the opportunities for individuals in the city. We believe, as Deputy Mayor Laser mentioned earlier, that the power of information is critical. I think we also understand the anxiety that is faced with individuals that are making transitions. So as much information as they can get as soon as possible will enable them to mitigate hopefully long-term unemployment. So we are in full support of the amendment. We realize that our system, which serves about 50,000 people a year, could do a little bit more. We are looking forward to our continued partnership with the council and specifically with Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson as we go forward. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Latoya?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson and the rest of the committee. My name is Latoya Edmond, Vice President of Workforce Development and Economic Innovation at Philadelphia OIC. I appear before you today in support of the Workforce and Career Pathways Bill, number 210443. Philadelphia OIC is a nonprofit workforce development agency founded at the height of the rights of the civil rights movement with one mission in mind, which is to eradicate poverty through education and employment. Reflecting on the past year, we can all attest that the ravages of the global pandemic taught us that life was unpredictable. Many companies were faced with the tough decision of furloughing and laying off dedicated workers. And according to Highland Solutions, nearly 2/3 of Americans, or 63%, are living paycheck to paycheck. That means all employees of the state of Pennsylvania who are considered at will, unless they have a contract at any moment, can be unemployed. According to the UN Labor Organization, 225 million jobs were lost worldwide in 2020. Many industries had to shut down, and scores of people that relied on their paychecks were displaced. Making it a requirement for employers to provide a workforce and career pathways information sheet upon hire or at the point of job separation from a company is not only vital, but the right thing to do. It would directly connect people to workforce development providers such as Philadelphia OIC at a time when support and resources are needed the most. The emotional toll of being separated from your employer can be debilitating. The Workforce Careers Pathways Bill will empower people to help people help themselves by connecting them to organizations that help them acclimate back into the labor force. This bill is also important because 36% of the U.S. labor force participates in the gig economy to make ends meet. Providing the Workforce Careers Pathway Sheet to gig workers at the inception of employment is a great resource because the industry they serve is unpredictable. As the provider of one of the oldest tuition-free workforce development programs in the city of Philadelphia, Philadelphia OIC is acutely aware of the challenges that members of the population that we serve are challenged with. We are in the business of working with disadvantaged people that are faced with obstacles and making them whole. We align with employers and workforce partners to remove any barriers that will impede the progression of employment. There are many people that are separated from work that can benefit from these resources, and we are extremely excited to be here today before you to support Bill 210443. Thank you for your time and allowing our testimony.
Shona?
Hello, City Councilwoman Committee on Labor and Civil Service. My name is Shauna Murphy. I'm the Director at District 1199C for our Education and Health Programs. I am reading a testimony on behalf of our Executive Director, Teresa Collins, who was ill and couldn't be with us today. My name is Teresa Collins, and I am the Executive Director of District 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund. It is an honor to provide testimony in support of amending Chapter 9 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Business, Trades, and Professions. In this testimony, allow me to offer a brief history of our training fund, of our services we provide, and to explain why this legislation to provide individuals with a workforce and career pathway information sheet is vital. Our history. District 1199C Training and Upgrade Fund was created in 1974 by collective bargaining agreement between District 1199C of the National Union of Hospital and Healthcare Employees, NUCHI, and 11 Philadelphia hospitals. Our fund has grown to include more than 50 acute care hospitals, long-term care, behavioral health facilities, and home care agencies. A uniquely designed labor management partnership, the Training Fund broke new ground at its founding with a commitment to serve both union members and community members, a commitment we have honored and grown over the past 4 decades, serving more than 100,000 Delaware Valley students. Today, the Training Fund serves over 4,000 students annually at the 35,000 square foot Breslin Learning City in Center City, Philadelphia. At the core of this commitment is the belief that we must provide or create clearly articulated career pathways which lead to jobs that provide family-sustaining wages for all of our students if they are to ultimately succeed. In 2014, President Barack Obama signed into law the Bipartisan Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA. We called for, among other things, the establishment of career pathway systems that make it easier for all Americans to attain the skills and credentials needed for family-supporting jobs and careers. A career pathway is a detailed map of a successful professional development journey that aligns education, skill development, and experience in high-demand industries. We at the Training Fund believe this is one of the most promising workforce development strategies to help youth and adults acquire marketable skills, industry-recognized credentials, and critical experiences. The Training Fund offers several career pathway areas: nursing, allied health, early childhood education, occupational safety, and behavioral health and human services. Our support. Knowledge is power, and nowhere is that truer than in workforce development. Students have a plethora of questions and paucity of answers. For many years, my staff and I have witnessed what happens with students who have the desire and passion, but inadequate knowledge about a career pathway in the field of their interest. They become locked on a hamster wheel of poor quality jobs, working so many hours a week that education for improvement becomes an impossibility. That is why career pathway is critical. The District 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund wholeheartedly supports this committee's effort to bring viable career pathway information to all city residents. This is information that is not easily attainable for students. A career pathway information sheet, as proposed by this legislation, will put critical professional development information in the hands of every worker. Bill 210443 will assist workers by providing a specific career pathway map of the competencies and credentials that are needed for the high-demand careers at their current employer. Workers will know what is required to grow professionally and to achieve and maintain economic prosperity. However, employers will also benefit. They will be able to remain competitive as their workforce become more skilled and capable. Again, District 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund strongly supports the passage of Bill 210443. As the COVID restrictions lift, I invite you all to join us at the Training Fund, where career pathways inform all our workforce development practices. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony today. I also personally would like to give a testimony as to say, I support this, and I will do anything in my power to be here today to speak on the behalf of Councilwoman. I too was worked at the American Red Cross Pure Dem and lost my job, and 5 children I was responsible for. Didn't know which way to go, how I was going to make it. A friend of mine, thankfully, introduced me to District 1199C. I came through the practical nursing program. I am now a master level registered nurse. I am sitting as their director of education and healthcare programs, and I'm giving back to the community and all those that I can inspire and mentor along the way. So I thank you for this sheet that hopefully will come through to give people that promise and that ability to do exactly what I did. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if appropriate, may I make a comment after this panel?
Yes. Is the panel finished?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would just like to say that if your bill had a poster, it would have Shona Murphy on it.
Yes. I completely agree. And I have to start there by thanking you, Shona, for all of your work. Mr. Chair, Shona is also responsible for City Council's New Normal home health care program that we partner with PhilaWorks and 1199C on. So I just want to say thank you, Shona, for reading the testimony of Teresa Collins, but most importantly, for sharing your story. And it's stories just like yours and families and individuals just like you in our city that we are seeking to help with this legislation. So I want to say thank you. Congratulations to you for being a master's level clinician in healthcare. It's a big deal here in the city of Philadelphia, and we truly appreciate your work and your partnership. And to Pat Clancy, you know we can't do it without you in PhilaWorks, and we look forward to you all being a real significant part of the regulation process around the development of the sheet during that 6-month period, if and when, and we're hopeful that my colleagues will support the legislation as passed. And last but certainly not least, Latoya Edmond from Philadelphia OIC, we want to thank you very much for your testimony and for your work and for all the suggestions and ideas that you have offered during our conversations, our workforce development conversations, even the one we had recently with U.S. Senator Bob Casey. So I wanted to say thank you, and please thank Judge Renee Cardwell-Hughes for allowing us to borrow you for part of your afternoon. So thank you very much to the panel. And the only question I have for anyone on the panel is, at the onset of COVID-19, we know that our unemployment rate skyrocketed. Did you all see an uptick in any of the workforce development programs or training programs or career pathway programs at the onset of COVID or after?
So I'm going to let Latoya go because she's a tough act to follow, as I just told her. So I'm going to let Miss
You sure, Pat?
Yeah, I'm sure, Latoya.
Oh, okay. So actually, Philadelphia OIC did experience an uptick in enrollment initially when COVID first spiked. Unfortunately, because of social distancing and certain regulations, we could not house them all. So we had to reduce internal capacity to be able to service the participants. We are starting to find now that there are some challenges with getting people in our seats. And so it's very important that we continue to collaborate with employers during this time and set strategies that will create pipelines not only for our workforce, but also for their hiring needs. So we are always open to speaking with employers, customizing job training programs to make sure it fits the needs of the community.
Yeah, and I would agree, Councilwoman, with Latoya. I mean, very similar. We saw an initial surge. One of the things we did at Philadelphia Works was develop a learning management system online. So we now have something for individuals to seek while they're trying to learn virtually. And as we get ready to reopen our centers, which are open now by appointment, but when we start welcoming back people en masse, then we're going to have all these opportunities. Our goal is that I think we know by the end of August, the subsidy from the federal government for unemployment runs out. So we are gearing up for services in July and August in hopes that we can get many more people, engaged in either work or training.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so much again for your work. And I would be remiss not to thank Michael Joins at Philadelphia Works and Candace Fontaine, who have worked very, very closely with my office and have been the best partners in the world. So thank you very, very much. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Do any other committee members have questions or comments for the panel? Hearing none. Rachel, will you please call the third panel we have to testify on Bill 210443?
Yes, the third panel is Susan Jacobson.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Neill and members of the Committee on Labor and Civil Service. I am Sue Jacobson.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Rachel, I think, okay, Sue was frozen.
Okay. Oh, okay. Am I back?
Yeah.
Apologies. Well, I was thanking you, and I just want to say, and thank you to Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for having me testify today regarding Bill number 210.
Mr. Chair, I think Susan is frozen again.
We'll have to wait for the unfreezing.
Yeah, and we can move to the next panel, and then when Susan comes back up, maybe we can go back to her because she's the only one on panel 3, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
there she is.
If you got me.
Got
well,
it.
I first. Well, let's do the abbreviated version, which is the Chamber supports this. And actually, the one piece that we were going to discuss, Councilwoman, but it looks like you've addressed it, is that small and medium-sized businesses, we were worried about not having an electronic option that they would have to, some of the chambers were saying that might be a problem, but it looks like you're going to take care of that from what you were saying in your opening remarks. So I've just deeply abbreviated my comments because we wanted to let you know that we are in support of this legislation. We think it's important. As you know, we are very involved with our Recharge and Recovery Initiative, and we are doing everything that everybody's been talking about during this hearing, which is, reskilling over 5,000 individuals into other jobs, and our banking initiative, right, with over we've got major banks all putting over $100 million into local Black and brown businesses, and our procurement initiative, which also basically is doing the exact same thing. So we are all in and committed. We think your legislation is smart, and as a chamber, we absolutely support you. And I'm glad that you're taking care of that part with small local Black and brown businesses to make sure that they don't have that extra burden by saying that they can electronically take care of it. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank Susan Jacobson and the entire team at the Chamber of Commerce, and particularly Will Carter for working with my office through some of the challenges notated and helping us to come up with amendments that will be helpful and advantageous to our small and minority business owners. We wanted to ensure that this was not burdensome and that it's easily accessible information for business owners to give directly to separated employees, and include an electronic option so that if they could provide the information via email, that would be available also and clear in the legislation. So thank you very much, Susan Jacobson, for all of your help and all of your support, and to the entire team at the Chamber. We appreciate your robust dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Hearing none, Rachel, will you please call the fourth panel we have to testify on bill number 210443?
Handel Alcantara and Vanessa Gonzalez.
Hello, my name is Handel Alcantara. I am a new norm program and 1199 training to become a nursing assistant. Less than a week ago, I heard about the bill, a workforce and career pathway shift that helped me a lot. This program changed my life in an instant. The force and career power shift give me so many benefits which I didn't know I have or which I didn't know I could have. For example, this shift gave me the opportunity to always have a job or an education. Give me the opportunity to work with food delivery network company or transportation network company. Also include job benefits, career, technical skill trainings, and education opportunities. With this program, I don't have to worry about what I will do next if I am unemployed. This program will help me be secure of finding a job immediately and give me the opportunity and education. Thank you, and I'm sorry for my English. I'm practicing on that. Thank you.
You're doing very well with your practicing.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez. I'm nursing assistant student in District 1199C training. When I found out this program, I never thought that I had the opportunity to study a career that I want to. This program is helping me to build a better future for my family and me. I didn't have the financial resource to start taking classes at the university due to the high financial cost. So I believe that the most important thing is to have the desire to fulfill the goals and dreams, and finding a place that supports and helps financial people who really want to improve their life and learn a professional regardless of financial obstacle is a blessing. In my case, attending CNA program has helped me to build a better future for me and my family because I can find a better job where they can pay me better salary and mainly where I can have economical at home with the expenses and give my children a better quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank Handel and also Vanessa, and again, District 1199C for having the students testify in the new normal, from the new normal home health aid upskilling program. We know that program is a result of the vision of this council and our leadership team, and I especially want to thank Council President Darrell Clark for being a visionary around that fund, and we were able to, with the help of PhilaWorks, get this program up and running this year on the 4th cohort. And thank you, Shauna, for all your work, you and Teresa. but the 2 students and young women you just heard from are a part of the cohort for the New Normal Home Health Aid Upskilling Program. So I just wanted to say thank you, and again, thank our council president for providing us that support. And Mr. Chair, for the record, I wanted to state that Patrick Eiting, president of Philadelphia AFL-CIO, submitted written testimony in support of this legislation as well. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you to the bill's sponsor for pushing this through and participating in the preparation for it. This is rather remarkable and will pay dividends for years. Is there anybody else here to testify on the bill whose name has not been called? Hearing none, I want to ask all the panels and witnesses thank them for their participation today. We value your opinions. I now invite all panels and witnesses to please disconnect from the hearing before we go into our public meeting. We will now pause the proceedings briefly as multiple participants leave the hearing. Are we clear yet?
I do see a few other testifiers still on, but the majority of them have left, yes.
Okay. We'll start moving along as the last few get off. This concludes the public hearing of the committee on bill numbers 210500 and 210443. We will now go into a public meeting to consider the action to be taken on these bills. We will now convene the public meeting. Rachel, will you please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate that you are present when your name is called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on screen when you speak.
Councilmember Alan Dom.
Good afternoon. I am present.
Councilmember Derek Green.
Present.
Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Present.
Councilmember Maria Quinones Sanchez.
Good afternoon, present.
And that is all who are in attendance.
We will now go into our public meeting. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion on the amendment to bill number 210500.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to bill number 210500. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to bill number 210500 be approved.
Second, Councilmember Derek Green.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Green seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 210500 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to bill number 210500 has been approved. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion on bill number 210500 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bill number 210500 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Dom seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 210500 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further moved that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, The ayes have it and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion on the amendment to bill number 210443.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to Bill number 210443. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 210443 be approved.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Dom seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 210443 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to bill number 210443 has been approved. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion on bill number 210443 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that Bill number 210443 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Dom seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 210443 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the ayes have it and the motion carries. This concludes the business before the Committee on Labor and Civil Service today. Thank you all very much for your attendance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair, Councilmember O'Neill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And good afternoon. We'll see you all a little later.